Hello students, welcome to the channel. In this video, we'll solve the third writing passage of the April 2018 US SAT, A Man of Many Words. In 1747, the author Samuel Johnson announced an ambitious plan for a new English language dictionary. He did so with the encouragement of a group of London booksellers. Which choice best combines the sentences at the underlined portion? So in option A, I'm saying in 1747, the author Samuel Johnson announced an ambitious plan for a new English language dictionary and was encouraged by a group of London booksellers. Samuel Johnson announcing an ambitious plan was encouraged by a group of booksellers. Johnson announced an ambitious plan, he was encouraged, and Johnson, encouraged by a group of London booksellers, announced an ambitious plan. So the best answer for this is D, because the main idea of the sentence is that he announced an ambitious plan for a new English language dictionary. And the fact that he was encouraged by a group of London booksellers is additional information that we can place between commas. So option D looks good. In option A, I'm kind of putting both segments together with an and, right? So I'm not specifying that the announcement of the new dictionary is more important than the encouragement. So A is not a good option. Here, I have made the announcement secondary to the encouragement. So that is completely wrong. And here again, I have kind of joined them with a semicolon, not combining them in any particular way to indicate the order in which I want to say this. So D is the best answer. Johnson's goal was to produce an authoritative guide to the language by which its purity may be preserved. The completed dictionary of the English language finally appeared in 1775. Its release was every bit the publishing event that the writer and his backers had imagined. Now, the way it's written is not correct because this is an independent sentence and this is also an independent sentence. So I can't join them with a comma. That's a comma splice error. I can use a comma with an and, right? So that makes sense. So this is fine. Now, this as makes it sound that there is a cause-effect relationship between the two sentences, which is not correct. So it's not C. And with its release will require the second part to be not independent, but that is not correct since it is independent. So the best answer is B. Along one's laborious journey from planning to publication, however, Johnson's dictionary had become a book with more humble ambitions, one that no longer aspired to preserve the purity of the language. Okay, so now I need to choose the correct pronoun, right? Whose laborious journey am I speaking about? The dictionaries, that's the subject. And so I need to use the pronoun its, which is the inanimate pronoun, right? Once is used for a person, so it can't be this. Each one doesn't make sense because I'm only talking about the dictionary. And it apostrophe s is the abbreviation for it is. It's not a pronoun, so it's not C either. The answer is D. Johnson had come to realize that, like all languages, the English language was a living, changing thing that could not be preserved, only described. Johnson had begun his work in 1746, furnishing his house with several large tables and massive heaps of books. To provide examples of proper word use for his dictionary, he looked to those he considered the hotshot experts on the English language, the leading writers of the past and present. Now, I need to basically talk about experts on the English language. So the best word would be foremost. That's the most formal word to indicate that these were renowned experts on the language. Hotshot, big name, and primo are informal options, and they will not suit this passage. So whenever you have to choose a word, choose the most formal option. So B. Johnson read through the works of hundreds of writers. His marking the passages he viewed as exemplary. So as I read this, I realize that this is not required. I can simply say that he read through the works of hundreds of writers, marking the passages he viewed as exemplary. So it can't be A. And B is what we said. Now, if I need to say and, first of all, I don't need a comma here. I would say and marked the passages, right? He read through the works and marked the passages. So it can't be C. And by distorts the meaning because that makes it sound that marking the passages was an agent through which he read, right? And that doesn't make sense because those were two separate actions. So the best answer is B. He then handed the books off to 6 scribes he had hired to copy out his chosen excerpts. Johnson was extremely selective in the passages he used to illustrate his words. Which choice best introduces the topic? So let's read further. No earlier English lexicographer or dictionary writer had attempted to define words as precisely as Johnson did. However, his careful analysis of his sources revealed subtle but inexorable changes in the ways words were used by different writers at different times. So the paragraph is about the precise nature of work that Johnson put into the project. So I don't think it's about being selective in the passages, right? So I don't like option A. It is unknown precisely how much work Johnson's scribes did beyond copying down passages. So again, it's not about the work that Johnson's scribes did, so it's not B. Johnson was not the first writer to create a dictionary of the English language. Again, that's not an introduction to providing precise meanings for words, so it's not C. Next, Johnson undertook the more difficult task of composing definitions. Yeah, so that's a good transition from the previous paragraph where we know that he had selected passages and now he attempted to define words, which is exactly what composing a definition would be. So D is a good introduction. When the dictionary was published in 1755, Johnson's preface acknowledged this inherent mutability of language, noting that no lexicographer shall imagine that his dictionary can embalm the language and secure it from corruption and decay. Which choice best sets up the quotation from Johnson later in the sentence? So we know that as he was composing definitions, he found that there were inexorable changes that took place as words were used by different writers, right? And that's exactly what mutability means. Mutability is changeability, right? So he understood that language was inherently mutable. And so no lexicographer should hope that his dictionary can embalm the language. So the way it's written is actually a good introduction to the quotation. Johnson's preface bemoaned the low status of dictionary writers. No, this is not about the status of writers. His preface explained how the writer determined which words to include. No, that's not what the quotation is saying. The quotation is talking about the mutability of language. And his preface stated that the quotations were carefully chosen for their style or subject matter. No, again, that's not the point of the quotation, so it's A. This recognition did not mean that Johnson had no opinions about how words should be used. On the contrary, Johnson used the dictionary to promote words he favored and to protest those he disliked. He used the dictionary, right? So I'll use the past tense because the passage is in the past. So A is the good answer. Had used is past perfect, and you only use that when there are two actions and you want to put those two actions in chronology, so it doesn't make sense. Will use is future and uses is the present. So A. Okay, so protest words he disliked. And now I want to add something. The next line is, in the definition for pictorial, a term coined by Sir Thomas Browne, Johnson described the word as one not adopted by other writers, but elegant and useful. Okay, when it was finished, Johnson's dictionary contained 42,000 words, which made it neither the longest nor the shortest dictionary of the 18th century. So should the writer make this addition here? If you think about it, this part is talking about Johnson's opinions on the words that he included in the dictionary. And in the very next line, I'm giving the example of a word that he liked, that he thought was elegant and useful. So whether the dictionary was the longest or the shortest does not really fit here. So the writer should not make this addition here. No, because it interrupts the discussion of how Johnson used his dictionary to affect the English language. Yes, so he kind of was giving details. He was prescribing usage. So this is a good answer. No, because it merely repeats information about dictionary that appears earlier in the passage. No, I don't think the fact that it had 42,000 words has been mentioned earlier. So it's C. Okay, so Johnson described pictorial as a word not adopted by other writers, but elegant and useful. By the same token, the word writative, which Johnson had found in the letters of Alexander Pope, was not even granted a definition. Johnson simply wrote a word of Pope's coining not to be imitated. Okay, so I need to choose the right connector here. So here I'm giving an example of a word that Johnson liked, and here is a word that Johnson did not like, right? So I should indicate some sort of contrast. So on the other hand makes sense, right? Because that says that on the one hand, he liked the word that Thomas Brown coined, but did not like the word that Alexander Pope coined. So I like B. By the same token would be used when you have two similar situations, right? But here they're not similar, so it's not A. For example is not correct because I'm not giving an example, I'm presenting a contrast. And nevertheless would not fit here because nevertheless would be used for a contradiction within an event, right? For example, the project was expensive, nevertheless the company decided to undertake it. So here you have an inherent contradiction between the project being expensive and the company's decision to undertake it. So that is how nevertheless is used, right? With an inherent contradiction. But here I'm giving two opposing examples of words, one of which Johnson liked and the other he didn't. So on the other hand is better. Johnson understood that he could not preserve his language, but he could, at the very least, try to shape its future use. In that more modest goal, he appears to have succeeded. Okay, now I have to determine the correct way to say this. But he could, at the very least, try to shape his future use. So I know that at the very least is additional information. So I should have the same punctuation at the beginning and at the end of that expression. So it should be both dashes or both commas. So it can't be A. It can't be B because then it's a comma and a dash. It can be C because here it's a comma and a comma. And it can't be D because a semicolon will be used between two independent sentences. So it's C then. So then how will my sentence look? Johnson understood that he could not preserve his language, but he could, comma, at the very least, comma, try to shape its future use. So here this dash is being used alone to kind of indicate a break in the sentence, right? That's what we are using it here for. This is not part of a paired dash, which is used around additional information. Okay, let's grade this. 23 onwards. D, B, D, double B, D, B, D, B, B, 28, D, A, A, C, B, C, D, A, A, C, B, C. Okay, great. So we got all correct. Hope this exercise helped. I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Take care. Bye-bye.